All right, what's up? We're back. Nice middle of August here.
Yeah.
Uh things been pretty fun since last week. I think so last time we recorded the NBA playoffs hadn't started yet. They kicked off on was it Monday? Technically Saturday afternoon, but with the play-in game and then
Uh-huh.
um the actual round of or best of 7 series started on Monday,
Uh-huh.
1 o'clock games. They gotta love playoff basketball. Get your day started
Yeah.
nice and early.
Yeah.
That first
No.
game was actually pretty fun. I think Donovan Mitchell scored 57 points in an
Only.
overtime.
Only.
Yeah, in an overtime loss to the Nuggets.
Yeah.
And then the Jazz got them back. They blew them out the next night. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, every series has been kind of fun so far, except the Pacers getting their ass beat.
Yeah. I mean, did we really expect anything different though?
No,
I
not with
mean,
Nate McMillan calling this shit. I'm done
dude,
with it. I mean, every
Nate,
week's the same thing.
Nate McMillan is an elite level coach. 28 of the 30 NBA teams would be lucky to have Nate McMillan, okay? Nate McMillan takes a mediocre team and makes them elite, okay? Let's
Okay.
not disrespect Nate McMillan.
Hey, he did let Duncan Robinson go out there and hit 7 of 8 from downtown and still never put anybody on him. The Pacers are so bad. I
He
just
knows
can't
what he's
figure out.
doing.
I don't know why they're not covering the perimeter and they're not switching. Like they keep doing pick and roll right. Bam switches on to the ball handler. Hey, newsflash: Bam's a good defender. You're not going to drive by him with ease. All right, quit trying it. Let Miles Turner shoot the goddamn ball. It's a mess. They're looking like they're going to get swept. Hasn't been a fun series.
Yeah, catching a 40's not fun, let me tell you that. You know
No,
what I mean?
not at all. And let's see, the both conferences, the 1 seed went down 1-0.
Yeah,
Magic
yeah.
was more of a surprise. I think nobody really gave them credit, especially considering Aaron Gordon went out. He wasn't even playing in games 1 or 2. They won the first game, shocked everybody, and then the Bucks came back in.
They should have won yesterday.
I don't know. Bucks kicked their ass pretty handily. But I mean, I stopped watching
I don't
that
know. They should have won yesterday.
20-something point game. But
I told you like Tuesday night. I was like, hey, if Milwaukee loses the first quarter on Thursday, that series is a wrap. And sure enough, Milwaukee came out and won the first quarter. So still a series.
I'll take
So
Milwaukee in 5. I'm not super worried about them right now. Uh, I think they just overlooked Orlando. They were just it happens. You're just it'll be easy. Then they kind of had a little what's that word? Like a little shock, I guess, and they're like, "Oh shit, maybe they're here to play. We have to step it up a little bit more." And
well, technically they have home field advantage. I mean, let's
that is true.
let's keep it a buck here. You know what I mean?
Um, the other side in the West, I've been saying Portland has a chance to knock off the Lakers.
Yeah.
Looked really good game 1. Damian Lillard was doing his thing. Carmelo Anthony came up big for them, which was a nice surprise. But last night they did not look good. They couldn't really hit any shots. And then early third quarter, Dame left with a dislocated finger. Hopefully he can come back by Saturday, Friday. I don't know what day they play. What's today? Friday?
Yeah.
So they play Saturday. It's weird because everything is now every other day in the playoffs instead of it being like
Which is how it should.
yeah,
Low
because
key, that's how
it
it
used
should
to
be.
just be like you play Monday and Wednesday, then you have 2 days off, and then you're playing back to back, and then it's all over the place. It's hard to keep up. But yeah, it's so the one
I
seeds in
thought the NBA had too much rest. I
yeah
always
they
thought
threw
that.
their
Expect,
schedule just didn't make a lot of sense. Trying to throw in
no,
travel. Well, I mean
yeah,
now that you don't have travel, it makes it a lot easier. But
well, it's like in the finals, it's like, hey, you're gonna play Monday, Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday. Like, why we need all that time? Like,
yeah, I
just do it
think
the way hockey does it every other day.
yeah, it is nice that they have
Make it challenging.
your matchups, like second round matchups, will be playing the same day. So the 1s and the 4s are playing same days, and then the 2s and the 3s are playing the next day. So at least has some sort of schedule to it. We'll see how that works out when they get towards the. I guess it'd be more towards the conference championships is when things will be more impacted by schedule. But yeah, I mean, hopefully the Blazers can get Dame back and at least make this more of a series. Last night was not pretty at all for them. They lost by like what points almost.
30, 30 almost, yeah.
Horrible.
Well, I mean, while we are talking NBA, do you want to do predictions? I mean, usually you do predictions before game one, but I mean, beggars can't be choosers. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, and we can give it a shot.
All right, well, let's
I'll
start
let
in
you
the
keep it
Western.
away. Hey, but beforehand, I do want to say congrats to your Knicks. another good year for the lottery. I will say, if you're gonna have a bad lottery pick, this is probably the year to do it. So.
Well, hey, I mean, if there's any team that's really good at locking up the number 8 overall pick, it's your boys from Madison Square Garden. What can I say?
What happened last when they had the 8 pick?
I think they passed on Dennis Smith Jr. and took Frank Ntilikina instead. So
yeah, they also
and
had the 8 pick.
And then a few years later, they traded for Dennis Smith Jr. and gave up Porzingis in the process. So.
Hey, dude, that's just elite offensive or front office minds right there.
Hey,
they also had the 8 pick in what 2007.
There's so many, dude.
Is that right? Whenever Steph went number 7. There's no way it was that long ago, right?
I hate the Knicks, man. They just can't catch a break. They just can't. I mean, we might get Obi Toppin this year, but another power forward.
Hey,
so great.
You can't give the lottery to the Knicks and the Rangers, you know.
Yeah, I'm about to say James Dolan. He knew. Hey, we're gonna make this look a little less obvious, you know. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait for December to roll around and Thibodeau's got 5 players above 6'9" on the floor with no ball handling. That's gonna be great, you know what I mean?
Hell yeah, I think we're all excited for that. It'll be
maybe LaMelo falls to number 8, you know.
With the teams picking at the top, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Yeah, you're not lying.
Need point guards, but I mean, you never know. Anything could happen.
I mean, I know teams need power forwards. I mean, you know,
Julius
I know who
number 1 pick straight up.
I mean, that's not a bad. Well, yeah, that is pretty bad actually. But the salary cap hit wouldn't be that bad, but I guess I don't know. But anyway, going to our predictions because talking about the Knicks depresses me. Number 1 in the West, Los Angeles Lakers. Number 8, Portland. I have a pretty good feeling. I know which way you're going to lean towards this. We, at the time of this recording, it's a 1-1. Blazers took game 1. Lakers took game 2. Who do you think wins this series?
It's tough now because, if Dame's not healthy. I mean, I think it's his non-shooting hand. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, if it's going to throw him off, it's going to hurt him. Obviously, he's their number 1 player, but I'll take the Lakers in 7. I think they can take it distance, but I don't know if Portland has it with them right now. If they didn't look great last night, and that's a huge blow. But if they did in game 1, they can win that whole series. So always keep it close.
I'm gonna go with the Lakers as well. I think they're gonna wrap it up a little bit quicker than what you think. I think the Lakers are gonna take that in 6. I think Portland probably, I think they can steal either game 3 or 4. I just, it's a long season, and if you give someone of LeBron's caliber I think the Lakers got too many weapons. Yeah. I mean, between AD, LeBron, insert third player here, it's just too much. Yeah, there's just too many players.
Oh boy.
Like there's just too many weapons, and the Lakers. I mean, I think they've kind of shown here not only since the restart. Maybe this isn't the year they win it all. I think they got a lot of holes, especially defensively. They need to shore up in order to make a deep run into the playoffs. But offensively, they should have enough to get past Portland in relative. I wouldn't say relative ease, but relatively stress-free. I don't see a game 7 in the first round.
I think it'll be tough to not get LeBron right now. Like, if you put him in a situation where if he's down a game again, like we saw last night, I think he's gonna I mean, he's been there before. He knows what it's going to take to win. He's not going to sit there and let an 8 seed like walk all over him. If anything, it's
Sure.
going to be a difficult win. It's not. I mean, the Lakers have enough veteran pieces anyway, so
Yeah. So the 4-5 matchup, we have, I believe it's what, the Thunder and the Rockets out in the West.
yeah.
So that series, I believe it's 2-0 Houston. They won both those games pretty easily, if I recall correctly. Who do you got in that series?
I mean, it's going to be Houston. I'll give the Thunder a game. I'll say Houston takes it in 5. They looked decent last night. Last night's game was a good one. It was back and forth for a while, and then Harden kind of took over in the 4th, but he didn't get the triple-double that I bet on, but that's whatever. But yeah, I think Houston has enough shooters to where they can make it difficult on anybody. So, I mean, the Thunder are a good team, but they're just not there yet. They're too young.
Yeah. And I kind of agree. I think Houston actually sweeps that series. I think once they win Game 3, I think they're not going to fool around. I think they're just going to keep their foot on that pedal and then just try to close it out in Game 4. Because if the Los Angeles Portland series does go 7, that means they could have like up to an additional week of rest.
Yeah.
Whereas whoever comes out of that series doesn't. And having that extra time off, that could be the difference. Outside of game one there might be a little rust, but having that extra time off in general might be very beneficial to the Rockets. So I could see them closing that series out early. Houston, they get a lot of those ticky tack calls, right? I mean, I can't stand watching them. I mean, you get you breathe on them, they flail the arms, and they get to the free throw line. That's not fun to watch, but it's effective. But I think the further you get into these playoffs, the less likely you are to get those calls.
Yeah.
You might see that starting with the loss with the Lakers series. So, give me the Rockets in a sweep.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City.
The
Thanks for
Rockets
coming.
also haven't been playing Russ, right? He's been out with a quad
Oh
issue,
yeah,
so
he's been out.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just shut him down for this whole series no matter what. They say, hey, we're already up 2 games. If we get to a game 6 and we need you, or a game
Yeah.
5, maybe, but
Well, the thing is that the Rockets don't need Russ to drop a 40 piece on Oklahoma City. I mean, they
right.
just Oklahoma's they like you said, they're young. Outside of like a Chris Paul, like they just don't have anybody you can really trust in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? There's no one that you would turn to on that team and be like, with one shot and I want you to take it.
Yeah.
You would give that ball to Harden. You could give it to a couple different guys on Houston who have shown that they can hit big shots, like an Eric Gordon or something like that. So Houston, they got more pieces. I think they've got more talent. I like D'Antoni as a coach. I think him and that Houston offense, they can put points on the board, and that's just something that I don't think Oklahoma City can do consistently enough to win 4 out of the next 5. So,
Yeah.
uh, give me Houston in a sweep, 40. So
All right.
the 3-6 matchup, the Utah Jazz and the Denver Nuggets. I believe is that 2-0 or 1-1?
It's
I don't.
1-1, I believe.
So a split. Denver wins that first game in overtime. We talked about, you mentioned that earlier with Mitchell's 57. Jazz come out. How do you see that series?
That one's tough because the teams match up so differently, but they're both capable of doing. Like, I mean, Denver's got one of the deeper teams in the league. I think they just have so many rotational pieces who can contribute in a big way. You have like obviously you've got Jokic, who's going to be your star. He's going to put up the numbers to win you a series. Um, but then you look at their bench and guys like Torrey Craig. I think they still have Will Barton. Like they have all these like guards who, if you need them
Jamal
to, they can.
Murray.
Jamal Murray, yeah, I mean he put up 36, I think, in that first game. Like they're
Yeah.
gonna score. They can shoot from the outside and they can penetrate. I think they've got Malik Beasley still, maybe I can't remember for sure, but they just have so many fun pieces to where they're a tough match. But you look at the Jazz side, Gobert's been playing really well in the defensive end, like
Mm-hmm.
we expect. Donovan Mitchell can put up points. I think he's averaging 41 now in the playoffs. Um, They get Mike Conley back in Game 3, who he was out because he was quarantining after the birth of his son, I believe. So it's tough. I'm gonna go with the Jazz just because I think they've got enough firepower.
Going upset.
Yeah, and I like what Gobert can bring to them if he can continue to just to limit Jokic. I don't know if he can shut him down completely, but limit him a little bit, keep away the interior pressure, and hopefully Mitchell and Conley can kind of carry you to a win. But I'll take
How
them.
many games?
I think that series goes 7.
Okay, so you got the Jazz and 7. That's interesting, because for all the reasons why I just discussed, why the Thunder weren't a great matchup for the Rockets. I mean, that's kind of the exact opposite in this series. So for both teams, there's like 2 or 3 players where you would point to on that team, be like, yeah, I want you taking a big shot if we're down late in the fourth. The
Yeah.
Jazz, you have Mitchell, you have Gobert, you have the greatest player of our generation. Angles on that. Any one of those 3 could hit big shots at any time. On Denver side, Jokic, maybe the most underrated player in the league. Jamal Murray. You have a couple different players that can hit big shots and who have hit big shots. So man, that's so tough. Damn, who would I? I'm gonna say the Nuggets. I'm gonna take the
Okay.
Nuggets. I'm gonna take the Nuggets in 6. I just think the Jazz. I think they're just a tad too young. I think Mitchell. He's what, a third-year player now.
Uh, yeah, I think.
I want to say he's a
Yeah,
third-year player. So
I believe so.
I mean, it's just so, man, it's so difficult. That series is so close. Um, Denver reminds me a lot of last year's Toronto team. They have like a superstar. I mean, you have a superstar in Jokic, and Toronto had a superstar in Leonard, where they could give the ball to if they needed to. But they play such great team ball. You know what I mean? They really know how to pass the ball. They know how to rack up assists. Anybody on that team can make a shot. Um, I think Denver is going to have trouble if they face the Clippers, but I think they got enough to get past Utah. Give me the Nuggets in
Yeah,
6.
I will say so. They don't have Malik Beasley, right? They got rid of him. He's with Minnesota now. But I just looked up their roster. I mean, Bull's their backup. I don't know if he's been playing in that series or not. I haven't caught a
I
lot,
don't know
but
if he has
I
or
mean,
not.
Michael Porter Jr.'s taken off in this series really since the restart. He's been real. I mean, he's finally been the player that they expected when they drafted him a couple of years ago. Gary Harris, Jeremy Grant, Monte Morris, Paul Millsap, Troy Daniels, Will Barton, and Torrey Craig. And you've got Mason Plumlee. I mean, that is a deep roster who can spread the floor and they can.
It is.
I mean, they've got like really they're too deep at every spot on the floor. And I mean, you're in a playoff series like that, and a game that went to overtime. That's all you can ask for, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you've got somebody hopefully that can match up whenever you need them. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Denver takes this series, but I'm just gonna go
Yeah.
because of the
Like,
Mitchell.
like I said, I think they're going to have a little bit of trouble the deeper they get into the playoffs, especially if they play LA in the second round. Yeah, the Jazz, they got enough offense, and with Gobert, they got plenty of defense too. Denver, I just really like them, man. I just think I think they're just a little too much for Utah this year. If this same playoff matchup happens next year, maybe it's a different story. I think it's 1 year too early for the Jazz. I think the Jazz could be a 3 seed next year.
Okay.
I think I think they're trending up. So 2-7 out in the West, we have LA and we have Dallas. That series is tied 1-1. LA took game 1. Dallas kind of, I don't want to say dominated, but they were the better team in game 2 by
Yeah, they were the
far.
better team in game one until the refs decided to step in. So I mean,
They were leading by double digits in game 2 or in game 1 as well.
Porzingis gets
So
ejected off. I mean, yes, it was a technical foul by rule, but both of his techs were very weak. That resulted
yeah,
in ejection, and then the Clippers were able to rally from that, and they ended up taking the game. So Clippers have not looked great.
yeah. I don't know if it's time to hit the panic button yet. I think they play tonight, right? I think they play tonight.
Yeah, they're the late game tonight.
Boy, if they lose tonight, things get exciting in that series. Who do in that series?
I've got Dallas in 6.
Wow, we're going upset. Okay.
They've been the best team in that series so far through 2 games. I think Luka had a very Luka's first game was his first ever playoff game. He had 42 points, but he also had 11 turnovers. So you had the good and you had the bad.
Yeah.
He cleaned it up in game 2. I don't know how many turnovers he finished with, but I know he only had 1 at the half. I mean, he can put up a triple double. He can take over the game. Him and Porzingis can each put up 30 points if they need to. Um, Boban, I mean, he's been very solid for them off the bench. Obviously, he provides size. He's 17 feet tall. So, I mean, unless Paul George can figure out a way to hit big shots, the Clippers just don't have it. I just haven't seen enough from them. And Paul George is going to make up some excuse that he's hurt. And listen, I like Paul George. I thought he was the best player the Pacers have had since Reggie Miller by a landslide. That dude needs to stop making excuses every time something doesn't go his way. It gets kind of tiring. It's exhausting. Just hit your shots and do your job and show that you're a capable player. Don't call yourself playoff P when you're not good in the playoffs. But, I mean, yeah, the Clippers haven't impressed me at all.
And see, I think, would you say that this year's Clippers team is better than last year's Toronto team on paper?
On paper, yeah. I mean, their bench is solid. They've got 2 superstars in the lineup. You
Because
got
like
six
if
man
you
of the
look at,
decade over here in Lou Williams.
well, and that's what I was gonna say. I mean, like last year, like if you compare the Toronto team and the Clippers team, the number one on each of those teams is Kawhi, and then you kind of go down. Your number two, you have Kyle Lowry and you have Paul George. I would take Paul George in that matchup. I mean, Kyle Lowry has a lot of deep. You know, he can take a charge for you. He can play defense, hit big shots. I'd still rather take Paul George. I think offensively he's more creative and can score more points when he wants to. Third on that list, you know, if you go sixth man, you know, you have Lou Williams versus like a Serge Ibaka. You know, kind of a toss up. Depends on what you want.
Yeah, I mean,
I
Lou
probably
Williams is
still,
going to give you points, but I think
yeah,
Ibaka is just a better all-around player.
yeah. So I mean, if you go down the list of every roster spot, I think you would see that, you know, LA's got more talent. And the fact that they're looking potentially like at a legitimate first round exit where they have all their pieces, that would be really, really embarrassing. So,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people had them winning going into this year, you know, and now you have people like yourself thinking they're not getting out of this first round. So, for myself, I think they will make it out of Dallas shown to be better. You know, I think Doc Rivers and they just have too much talent to not win right now. Um, I think they make an adjustment, maybe coming, maybe not in Game 3, but definitely in Game 4. I think they make an adjustment. This is a series that I do see going 7. I think the Clippers win in 7. I think that I could see Dallas winning games like 4 and 5 to go up 3-2, um, which would then really put the pressure on LA. And then,
Yeah.
you know, this Dallas team, I mean, is this the first time Dallas has made the playoffs in a while? I mean,
Yeah, it's Luka's first time in, so it's been at least a few years.
yeah, so I mean, it's Luka. Kristaps, he probably hasn't played a meaningful playoff game in his life, you know, being in New York and everything. So, you know, I just think they're too young, and I think when that pressure's on for them to have to win a closeout game, you know, we know I can win elimination games. We know he's faced elimination in one. He did it a few times last year, I believe. So, yeah, Rick Carlisle's a good coach. I think it's LA. I can't see Dallas thoroughly beating LA every game like they have the last two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just
I would
sometimes they
not
got
be
to
surprised in the least if Kawhi takes over, but I just haven't
sure.
seen it yet, so.
No, and I just that's a real gut feeling, you know, because through two
Yeah.
games, I mean Dallas has probably they've led more minutes of the 96 play. They've led more minutes, so I don't know. Going throughout the first round in the East, the 1-8 Milwaukee versus Orlando. That series is tied 1-1. I think you said Bucks in 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No qualms there.
All right. I kind of have to agree with you. I think it's going to be the Bucks in 5. I mean, last year Orlando beat Toronto in the first round in Game 1 of that series. I would love for Orlando to win that series. I just don't see it happening. Give me Milwaukee in 5.
Yep. That takes
Um,
it to
the 4-5. I'm not sure which one is the 4, which one is the 5. It really doesn't matter. Indiana and Miami. Miami leads 2-0. I guess the only question about this series is it going to be a 40 piece?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's been the
Oh,
most lopsided series this far,
yeah. I mean that's
and
accurate.
technically they keep calling it an upset because the 5's over the 4, but I'm pretty sure they finished with the same record or like a game apart, and the Pacers
Yeah.
have. I mean, Pacers couldn't beat the Heat all season. I don't know, man.
You're
I don't
telling
know.
me Miles Warren ain't taking over?
Warren's been somewhat decent. Um, rest of the team's been ass. I'll just keep it real with you. They have not been good. It's either going 4 or 5. It's either going to go 5 because the Pacers want to give you a false sense of hope in Game 3. Like, oh, holy shit, they might be able to win, and they'll get stomped in 4 and 5, and then Nate McMillan gets to keep his stupid ass job because he did an okay. He got one playoff win. He's won 3 playoff games with the Pacers in 4 years.
Yeah.
He's won one series in 16 years.
Uh-huh.
He's 3 and 16, I think, with the Pacers. Brutal.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You can't. I guess it's like 3 and 18 now.
You better give that man a $50 million extension.
They probably already did. So, I mean, Eric Spoelstra's going to show him that he's not a good coach. Spoelstra's way better at his job than McMillan is. Heat are going to take it in 4 or 5, and we're going to move on. The Pacers are going to not have a first-round pick because they gave it up for Malcolm Brogdon. Not going to sign any free agents. They're going to walk away. They're going to have the same exact team next year, and the same shit's going to happen. But anyway.
Damn. Yeah, so I think it's a 40 piece too. Give me the sweep, the Heat. The Pacers are trash. Let's put that on the table. Everyone thought TJ Warren, oh man, we're changing our profile pictures for this cat. Cool. I mean, I love having C- as my profile picture. Yeah, so let me go change mine for Frank Ntilikina while I'm at it. You know what I mean? Just God.
Whoa.
Okay, all right. Maybe he's a C player, but he's not much better. Just absolute trash. The Pacers are god awful. I don't know if they can win a 7-game series against the Knicks right now. They're atrociously bad. Once Sabonis got injured, their season was a wrap. I mean, it was over.
Let's be real. The Pacers have the talent to win.
Victor Oladipo is garbage. Dumpster juice. Dude, like, granted, he got injured. Like, last year, they probably would have been the 3 seed in the East if he doesn't get hurt. Like, he's just not good. Like, he can provide you with, like, one good game. But is he going to win a series for you? Not a chance. Like, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I would rather
not
be
a single player I trust.
Like, I would rather be a Knicks fan knowing we're going to go 19-63 than be a Pacers fan, make the first round, host a playoff series, and then get embarrassed year after year after year. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I don't know how you do it. I really don't.
It's tough. That's all I know.
Enough of that depressing subject. 3-6 Philadelphia versus Boston. That series is 2-0.
It's 2-0. I think that one's a sweep too.
40. You're going 40 piece in that series.
Philly can't hang with them. Boston just takes over late. Jason Tatum doesn't miss shots when it matters. And outside of Embiid being dominant for Philly, Tobias Harris's max contract has really paid off. I bet Philly is just rolling in money now. Oh, they're excited to have Tobias Harris locked up for millions upon millions of dollars to hit 3 shots a night.
Yeah, I mean that's worth $40 million if you ask me. I don't agree with you. I think he goes 5. I think Embiid steals a game. I think he steals a game. A game. Might be game 4 when they're facing a sweep, but I think he steals a game, and then Boston closes it out in 5, which is a good thing because the 2-7 matchup, Brooklyn versus Toronto. Toronto leads 2-0. I know my feelings on this series. What's your feelings on it?
I mean, it's going to be a sweep, but game 2 was interesting because they were down a lot in game 2. They were
Yeah, they spent a lot of
not
time.
in terms of quantity, but time-wise, I mean, it felt like Brooklyn just kept staying out in front just a little bit, and okay, they might pull it off. I mean, I knew that Toronto at some point was going to be able to flip a switch and take over, but it just kept getting put back and a little bit delayed, and then finally, fourth quarter, the Raptors go up and take the game 2. But yeah, who's Brooklyn even throwing out there on the court right now? Aside
Well,
from
I mean,
Karis LeVert,
who is legitimate? That guy. I mean, he
all
might be the only
those
point
former
scorer on that
Pacer
team.
Karis LeVert, that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Revel in that one real quick. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a 40 sweep for Toronto. Toronto just got too many good pieces. I mean, that team went from a team of role players playing under Kawhi last year to growing, and they are a legitimate championship threat again this year without a legitimate number one superstar. They have a lot of, like, if you were ranking tiers of players, like your first tier would be like your LeBron, Kawhi, uh, probably probably put James Harden in that list. That would be your top, like that would be your tier 1 players. Your tier 2 players would be guys like CJ McCollum, would be guys like a Russell Westbrook. Um, but all of Toronto's guys, they're tier 2 guys. There's no tier 1s. You have Pascal Siakam, who's quickly developing into one of the better players in the Eastern Conference. The guy can just, he's very athletic, very long. He can spread the floor, hit jump shots, can attack the rim kind of like Giannis. He can defend a little bit better than Giannis, in my opinion. You have Kyle Lowry, who has shown he can hit big shots. He can take charges when it matters. He plays both ends of the floor very well. You have a guy like Marc Gasol, Serge Ibaka, who can get rebounds on the defensive end. You have Fred Van Vliet, maybe the greatest three-point shooter of our generation. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
You got a
Can
point.
drop 30 on you. They have a lot of tier 2 guys on their roster. A lot of guys who are dedicated to playing team basketball. I think they sweep Brooklyn, and I think they make a deep run in this playoffs. So, do you want to predict the rest of the playoffs now, or do you want to hold off on that?
It's up to you.
All right, well, let's run through it then. So your Western Conference semifinals. If I recall correctly, you have LA and you have your 4-5. Who is that?
Houston.
Houston. So LA and Houston. Who would you take in that series?
Man, that's a tough one. I'll go Houston in 7.
Okay.
I think this is finally the year James Harden starts to make a run. So I mean, he's been close, but I think getting by LeBron's a big step for him. So I got a damn fly in here.
Yeah. I'm going to go the thing. I think Houston wins that series if they end up playing LeBron. I think it would go 7 as well. I think hopefully by that time they get Russell back, but I mean outside of LeBron and Anthony Davis, LA just has too many holes. They just don't have enough.
Yeah.
They don't have enough scoring. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would take Houston in 7 as well. Surprisingly enough, that would be my prediction as well. On the other side of the bracket, we have differing teams. You have Utah, and Dallas. I have Denver and LA. So I'll let you go first. Who would be your winner coming out of that side of the bracket?
Oh man, Dallas. Are they gonna make a
No
run?
kidding.
Because I think that they match up well with Utah.
They do.
And I
Yeah.
think they can win that one in 6, maybe 7.
Okay.
So look at that. Dallas is in
Wow,
the
so that's gonna
Western
be interesting for
Conference
your Western
Finals.
Conference. Wow. For myself, Denver and LA. I'll take LA in that series. I like Denver. I just think that LA. I think by that time in the playoffs, they'll have things figured out. They'll be more
Yeah.
well oiled. They'll be more. They'll be more cohesive. I think if they were going to lose a playoff series pretty decisively and pretty surprisingly, it would be the Dallas series. I just don't see it happening. My Western Conference Finals, give me Houston and the Clippers. Other side of the bracket, Eastern Conference semifinals, you have Milwaukee and Miami. Who do you got winning that one?
Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee just has too much firepower and they know how to defend. So it'll make life difficult for Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero. Goran Dragic, who's had a big start to this playoff run, but I think Milwaukee has enough to shut them down. I'll say
So,
Milwaukee. Call it 6 games.
okay. This is interesting because the formula is out there for how to beat Milwaukee, right? The formula is that you shut down Giannis, you make him shoot from out deep, and you hope everyone else misses their threes. That's how Orlando won game one. Milwaukee couldn't hit a three from deep. Milwaukee wins game two because they finally started hitting threes. Giannis is going to get 35 and 15 a game. It's just his size. He's just going to find ways to get to the basket. But the more you can force him to shoot from outside, the better chance you have. He's not necessarily a great free throw shooter either. So the more you can put him on the line, the better chance you have as well. Miami, they've got defensive pieces. I mean, Bam Adebayo. I mean, I think Giannis would be just a little too much for him. Jimmy Butler, Dragic. I mean, can I see them beating some of the better team? Maybe. I kind of agree with you. I think Milwaukee's just a little too much to handle. I would take Milwaukee in 5 in that
Okay.
series.
Yeah, I mean that. I think Milwaukee wins it. It just depends on how much can Miami depend on their shooters. Because if Duncan Robinson can get hot and he can give you 20 points a night, well then you're stealing a game or two. But
Yeah.
if Jimmy Butler's hitting the shots that he's been hitting against Indiana, then yeah, they're gonna have a chance to compete. But I just don't know if they can consistently hit big shots against a team who's much more defensively sound than Indiana.
Yeah, and I mean I mean, really, Milwaukee, they love having Giannis drive into the paint and then kick out for three, right? They have like 5 different zones on the floor where they like to shoot it from. And it's like you have a guy like Middleton who can just hit wide open shots. You have a guy like Benzo who can hit wide shots. The Lopez brothers are really good from distance. So they got the pieces to win that series. I think they do. I just if they can shut down Giannis, make him shoot from outside, and just hope everyone else misses. They could steal a few games. I don't know if it'll be enough to steal a series though.
No.
Other side of the bracket, Eastern Conference semifinals. You have Toronto versus
Boston.
Boston, which is what mine is as well. So who do you have winning that?
Boston in 7.
Really?
Boston's a Game 7 team, right? They love taking series a little bit longer than they need to, but I mean, this is a good matchup. It's a fun matchup. I think Boston has enough. Just their depth is good. You can put Marcus Smart in there in the second unit; he'll shut you down. They're starting to get contributions from Romeo Langford, Carson Edwards if he's going to play in the playoffs. Daniel Tice is very underrated as a big guy. He's going to give you rebounds off the bench. I don't know if he starts or not, but I mean, and then their backcourt big three, whatever you want to call it, with Kemba, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum. Those dudes hit shots and they put up points in a hurry. So I don't know if Toronto has enough defensive pieces to stop those 3 guys particularly.
Yeah, I'm going to take Toronto in 6 in that series. I think they do have the defensive pieces. I mean, I think they have enough to keep them out of the paint, which, I mean, if you're looking at Boston, they're going to be shooting jump shots anyway, right? They're not going to be trying to drive into the lane and try to score over Ibaka and Marc Gasol. I just think Kyle Lowry, Siakam can guard your number one. I mean, whoever thinks he can't just hasn't watched him play enough. The guy can guard your number one. He might, your guy might be successful. He's not going to go like a Damian Lillard or something like that. Fred VanVleet, I think he's better on the offensive end than what he is the defensive end. I think he can put up enough points to make up for his defensive inabilities. And then you kind of go, a little further down. Norman Powell can hit jump shots.
Yes.
There's another guy on that team that is just I'm blanking on right now. Small forward. Damn it. I'm blanking on his name. Either way, I just think I just think they have enough pieces. I think Toronto, if they play Boston, I think they'll be a little bit more was motivated than what they are against Brooklyn right now, because Brooklyn's not playing their best 6 players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of expected that Toronto makes it through this series. Boston's a much bigger challenge for them.
Yeah.
Boston kind of blew them out in the bubble, a couple weeks ago. Toronto, I think they have enough pieces to win that in 6. I think that they're going to be a very tough out for whoever draws them this year. That like you said, that's a very exciting series.
Yeah, I think up to this point, that's the series I'd be most looking forward to watching.
Yeah.
But what are you thinking of OG?
Oh yeah, OG Anunoby. He can be a defensive player when he wants to be. I just it's hard to trust him sometimes on the offensive end. But Toronto,
that's always been who he's been too. He's never been a guy who's going to hit big shots. He's definitely a more defensive two-way kind of guy.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what Toronto wants, because Toronto, they've kind of made their name on the defensive end of the floor. I would be surprised. Like, they play Brooklyn here in like an hour. If they give up 100 points, I'll be shocked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I think if you were going to bank on one team not giving up 100, it would be Toronto in the playoffs. Just they're just so defensively sound. Nick Nurse has them playing really good basketball. They've bought into his philosophy. Every year Nick Nurse has been a head coach in the NBA, he's won titles. So, he's doing something right. You know what I mean? So, Western Conference Finals, you have the 3 and the 7 seed, Houston and Dallas. Who do you got going to the finals?
I'll say Houston. They have enough firepower. I think this is where luck runs out for Dallas, but it's still a good run for them, right? You're going from the 7th seed to the Western Conference Finals. I think Luke and Harden are very similar players. They're going to match up on each other, but assuming at this point you have Russ back, I don't know how Dallas is going to be able to stop Russ and Harden and Gordon. Houston's bench is just too much of a threat from deep, and I don't know if Dallas is enough all around. Dallas is a solid team, but I don't know if they're not the deepest team you're going to see. They're very top 5 minded.
Okay. For myself, I've got Houston and LA. LA in 6. I think the Clippers, by that point, everything, every kink they should have, every flaw should be beginning to be worked out. I think by that point also, depending on how long Houston's series goes, I think Harden is going to tire out. And plus, those ticky-tack calls he gets, the further you get into the playoffs, less of those you get. We saw that in the Golden State series a few years ago whenever they couldn't hit like 33s in a row. We've seen it in the past where they just won't give them those calls. And I think LA's just got too much jump shooting. They have too much scoring ability. When they want to, they can hammer down on the defensive end. People forget Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are former defensive player of the years. You know what I mean? They can play defense when they want. And when you have a team as offensively gifted as what Houston is, I think that's when you'll see it. So, give me LA in 6 advancing to the NBA Finals. So, Eastern Conference, you have Milwaukee and Boston. Who advances?
I have a 3 versus a 3. Boston.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I think they're gonna just ride this wave of being on fire. I think they're gonna pull another upset, and I think they sneak by Milwaukee. Um, that'll be another good series. I think it'll be interesting to see how they try to defend Giannis, but I have to go back and see how they played against him this year. But I just have a feeling that Boston's able to pull it off.
Yeah, mine is Milwaukee and Toronto, a rematch of last year's Eastern Conference Finals. I think it's going to be the same result. I think Toronto's going to get back to the championship. They figured out how to beat Giannis last year. They beat him in six. Granted, they had Kawhi, so they were a little bit better defensively. But this year, I think everyone has made enough steps forward to make up for Kawhi's loss. And I think you get to that point, and experience is so key, right? So you have a team that's offensively gifted, is what Milwaukee is. I mean, Giannis can drop 50 on you any night, right? Dude could go 18 for 22 if you wanted to. You drop 20
Yeah,
rebounds, it doesn't matter. Toronto, they've wanted they to play that far into the playoffs. Milwaukee, they haven't made it that far yet. So, last year we saw in the Eastern Conference Finals, Giannis get a little timid from the free throw line, just had an inability to make free throws, and Toronto took advantage of that. They ended up winning that game. They won the game six in Milwaukee to clinch that series. I think this year, I see it going seven. I see Toronto winning a game seven. Um, I think they got the defensive formula. I think they'll go back, they'll watch the tape, and I think they'll try to replicate what made them so successful last year. So my finals is going to be it's going to be a pretty storybook a storybook finals. Kawhi and his former team. Your finals is going to be Houston and Boston. Who wins the NBA title in your bracket?
man, that's tough, man.
Asking the tough questions here.
Boston. Boston
Oh,
rides all the way. They knock
oh
off Houston.
wow. Okay.
I think they do that in 6. Um,
Brad Stevens going to capture a ring, huh?
Yep. Jason Tatum's going to win MVP, playoff MVP, whatever they award it.
Yeah.
I mean, him, Kimba, and Jalen Brown are just going to be. They're not going to necessarily be like ungodly, anything like that. They're just going to be just enough. And then you're getting, oh, wow, you got to take out Kimba. Well, here comes
Yeah.
Marcus Smart to pester your guys. And he's going to do his job. He's going to piss off Russ. And he's going to get in Harden's head. He's not gonna make anything easy on him. I think that's gonna be enough to help Boston win.
Yeah, I think Brad Stevens. I would trust Brad Stevens over Mike D'Antoni. I just think he's very good at making adjustments, and with him, I think he can get players to buy into his system a little bit more. Mine, Toronto. I think Toronto goes back to back. I think Toronto wins another world title. I think by that point, Kawhi. They're both better defensive teams than what they are offensive teams, right? But I would say LA is more offensively gifted than what Toronto is. On the flip side of that, though, I would say Toronto is more defensively gifted than what LA is. And as of right now, there is more holes in LA's offense and in LA's team than what there is in Toronto. I think Toronto, they've been slept on for far too long. I think everyone has kind of counted them out. If you were to put everybody into tiers as to title chances for this year, your tier one would be LA, and Milwaukee, right? And then your tier two would be like Toronto, Boston, Houston, and then like your tier three, you can go on and so forth. Toronto is a tier one NBA championship contender. I mean, no guys, no one gave him. I would say very few. I gave him a chance. I predicted it, but very few people gave him a chance to win last year. All it takes is one or two injuries to really change everything around. And granted,
Yeah.
we're predicting it as if there's not going to be any injuries. This is just on paper. I think Toronto, that championship experience is going to come in key. I mean, when has Paul George ever won an NBA title? When has Patrick Beverly ever won an NBA title? When is Nurkic ain't playing for them. Just look up and down the roster. Other than Kawhi, who's won titles on that roster? You know what I mean? I can look at every player on Toronto and say they won a title very recently. They know what it takes to get to that
Yeah,
point.
but I guess on the flip side, if you look at their roster last year, it'd be the same thing as LA's. Oh, who did Toronto have that won a title other than Kawhi?
Mm-hmm.
Danny Green, technically, but again, I mean, he just kind of got it from Kawhi. So,
Well, I mean, Toronto, like, there's no denying Kawhi wasn't the number one. He was the ace in Toronto last year, right? And then you had, Siakam and Lowry and Van Vliet and everybody playing supporting roles around Kawhi. Well, you take Kawhi out of the lead. Who comes into the lead? Siakam has proved he's one of the better players in the league. Kyle Lowry, he's got leadership experience. I don't know if there's going to be a singular player come up and be the ace for that team. I just think that every player on that team has stepped their game up enough to where it could be a real team championship, like the old, like the Pistons back in the day, like some of those old Spurs teams. I mean, the Spurs teams had Duncan, but he wasn't. I wouldn't say he was bigger or you also had Ginobili and Parker on those teams. You had Kawhi on the one and 14. I could see it being one of those real team championships as compared to a LeBron or a Kobe or a Steph
yeah.
championship. So that's our NBA predictions. A little bit late, but we we did our best here, guys.
Yeah, we
what
work
what
with
what,
what
what can we
we've
say?
got. So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
uh,
Hopefully, we can check back on these in a few weeks and see how we did. But
yeah.
yeah, guess on the playoff theme, hockey's been pretty fun. I didn't see how games ended last night.
So really, it's interesting because everyone thought that the round robin games teams were taking off. You know what I mean? These games, they don't really matter that much. Just wait until the traditional Stanley Cup comes in. You'll see these teams trying. So far, they kind of been right. You know what I mean? I mean, both the ones are you had in the Western Conference, Vegas advanced. They swept Chicago. Uh, your two seed, Colorado, they beat Arizona last night. They advanced. 3 seed Dallas. They finished off Calgary in 6 last night.
Yeah, that was the
It was
one.
funny.
They were down
It was
what, three
funny.
to one, and they were up
Three
5-3 in the
nothing.
second.
They were down 3-0 and they scored 7 straight. So
Yeah,
Dallas is in. The 4 seed. St. Louis. They had the most points in the Western Conference this year, right? They lose every game in the round robin. They're the 4 seed. They're down 3 games to 2 to Vancouver. Tonight's game 6. Their season could end tonight. In the Western Conference, that's the only game that's not chalk at this point, though. And I mean, St. Louis is, if you've watched the series, they can easily win 2 games in a row against Vancouver. If Markstrom and Virtanen, if they have bad games, St. Louis can capitalize. St. Louis has enough pieces to go championship. I think Vancouver does wrap it up tonight. I think Vancouver is a very slept-on team. Vancouver, I could see them getting past. Well, they would be playing Vegas, and that's a really tough sell. Uh, yeah, they would lose to Vegas. uh, I mean that's how it is in the Eastern Conference. Your 2 seed Tampa Bay, after that hellacious game 1 against Columbus, goes 5 overtimes. They finally close that game out, close that series out in 5 in overtime as well. I feel bad for Columbus, Corpuscello and Seth Jones, and that team had a great. I mean, they dispatched Toronto in 5, and Tampa Bay and Toronto they're very offensively minded. I thought that forecheck was going to be more effective than what it was. Shouts out to Tampa Bay; they did a really good job, got them out in 5. The 3 seed, Washington, they did get eliminated last night. New York, they kind of kept their foot on the gas pedal. They were up 3-0, I want to say, in that series. They closed them out in 5. So,
yeah,
congrats to New York on that. The 4-5, that matchup was Boston and Carolina. A lot of people had Carolina upsetting Boston. Boston said, "Yeah, we don't know what you're thinking there." Got them out in 5.
yeah. That
So
was it. Was it game 4 or 5? They were down 2-0 going into the third. And they put up 4 goals in like 8 minutes or something like that, and ended
yeah,
up pulling away. And it
yeah.
basically sealed the deal for them.
Yeah, and Boston, they're the President's Cup winners. I mean, they will be facing whoever the highest seed is, and that highest seed, tonight's Game 6 between Philadelphia and Montreal. That's been a real fun series to watch. Game 5 was fun as hell. I mean, that series is just you have two of the best goalies in the game going at it right now between Carey Price and Carter Hart. As much as it pains me to say it, I think Philadelphia closes that. I think Montreal, they're very young. I don't trust their offensive talent. They could score 5 goals on you, but boy, they can also get shut out back-to-back games.
Yeah.
So Carey Price, I mean, he stole the Pittsburgh series. I don't think he's going to steal the Philadelphia series. So I think Philadelphia wins that tonight. The playoffs have just been super exciting so far.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of high-level play, and really all of the series that I've watched so far.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching mostly just the Boston series because that's usually the one that's on, and that's my team during the playoffs because by virtue of Caleb's team. So
Yeah.
I mean, they lost Tuukka Rask, who opted out right before the game 3, I think.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, they've rallied, so they've been fun to watch. All of their games have been interesting, so I'll ride the wave with them. But yeah, I mean, every game I've seen has been fun, except for that. I think it was Arizona won 7-1 in one of them. So other than that, they've all been at least competitive.
Yeah, you're not lying. You're not lying. So, yeah, hockey's fun. If you guys are watching, watch Game 6 tonight. It's gonna be really fun between. Well, I guess both Game 6s are tonight between St. Louis and Vancouver and Philadelphia and Montreal. So yeah, check them out. Baseball. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about this. How about Slam Diego down there in
Slam
Southwestern?
Diego, yes, sir.
You know?
I mean, Fernando Tatis, best player in baseball right now. He leads basically every major category. He already has 12 home runs in the season. I think the next closest is 9. He leads RBIs. He leads, I think, hits, extra base hits, stolen bases. I mean, what can't this kid do? He gets in. They're playing in Arlington.
Pitch.
Yeah, I mean, God, dude, this kid. This game's a blowout. I think it's 6-0, or it's a 6-run game at the time. He's got a 3-0 count, bases loaded, and some poor soul pitcher decides he's going to leave him a meatball, middle of the plate. He doesn't take it. It's 3-0. Hey, he's swinging. He hits a grand slam. Rangers start throwing this little hissy fit, saying they're breaking the rules of baseball, which, if you look at the Padres, holy shit, their bullpen has blown a lot of big leads lately. Don't blame them for swinging. Well, that pitcher gets all shitty and starts throwing a little fit. No, it's not fair. That's not the rules of baseball. Everybody backs up Tatis now, saying, hey, if you don't want him swinging at your pitch, throw a good pitch.
It's true. Very true.
Next game, he comes out. His coach makes him apologize, saying he didn't take his take sign, blah, blah, blah. He gets out there the next night. He's on second base. It's 6-0 or 4-0, one of the two, something like that. He's on second base. Same pitcher from the night before is on the mound. What does he do? He steals third base in a big, blowout game. And guess what? The Rangers came back and made that game close. And that's why you swing 3-0 on.
At 3-0, yeah.
I mean, it was fun. He's the most exciting player in baseball. He doesn't give a shit. Padres are still fun. Machado I think he had a walk-off grand slam. They've hit 6 grand slams as a team already this year, which is just unheard of. I mean, they pissed off the Rangers, and that's all you can hope for. So I love it. I love me some Padres baseball.
Yeah, and I haven't watched a whole lot of baseball here lately. I've watched a little bit of the Yankees, and they just got swept by Tampa Bay.
I believe they now have a 500 record against teams that aren't the Red Sox. Brutal.
Say that one more time.
So the Yankees, I think, are 9-9 this season against everybody but the Red Sox.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, the Yankees have not. I mean,
trash. They're trash.
Tampa Bay slept on. I predicted them to go to the World Series. I think Tampa Bay is going to surprise a lot of teams. They're very good. I stand by that. New York, I mean, Tampa Bay got to Garrett Cole. They're the only team that's been able to do so this year. I mean, Cole did take a no decision, but I just I want to trust the Yankees. I just can't at the moment. It's too early. So, but yeah, I mean, that's all I got.
Yeah, Cubs are the same way. They played a 5 game set with the Cardinals this week because of they had 5 games in 3 days. Um, Bullpen dog shit one game, really good the next, and then the Cubs went 3-2. Not great. I think they're 4.5 up on the division now, but they're slowly starting to lose it. They do look like they got Craig Kimbrell back to his old self for now. He's had 3 straight appearances with no runs allowed, which is not a high bar, but at least they got something. Their bats haven't been doing great, but they're still winning enough games. They're up big enough in the Central. So other than that, I mean, baseball's been pretty stagnant. The NL West has still been dominant. AL Central's been what we expected. And we got Cubs White Sox this week, so we finally get to see two most likely playoff teams face off and see how some interleague play works. Crosstown, is it Crosstown Classic, Crossroad Classic, something, I don't know, but the Chicago boys going at it. It'll be fun. But yeah, I mean, other than that, things are really in full swing now. I know I kind of say that every week, but now that we got playoff series are actually underway and more exciting than just bubble play basketball. I think things are starting. I mean, they're exciting. There's something important to watch every day now. So,
Sure.
and for you soccer folk, Champions League final is Sunday afternoon. Bayern Munich is playing PSG.
PSG.
Yep, two of the best teams in the world. Obviously, they're playing for what is basically the Super Bowl of European soccer. So, winner take all game. I think it's in Germany. I don't know if that matters, but yeah, I mean, soccer's awesome. So I'll be watching that. And then yeah, so I don't have much else to say for this week.
I do have one thing. I got to eat a little bit of crow. Last week, I predicted DC to win the heavyweight title against Miocic. Boy, was I wrong. That was bad. That was bad. I watched the fight back twice now. I had DC winning the first. Some people thought it was close. One of the judges gave Miocic the first. I personally gave DC the first. The second round, I thought it was a DC round until the last 15 seconds when DC got knocked down. And he ate like 21, 22 clean shots to the head. I mean, DC just put that S grip on his back, and then Miocic just went Donkey Kong on his head. They honestly should have stopped the fight. I mean, with about 5-6 seconds left, they should have called it. We've had too many instances in mixed martial arts this year where there's been late stoppages and guys paid the price for a result. Anthony Smith, Jose Aldo, you can point to. Thankfully, it didn't end up like that. But the only reason why they didn't stop it was one. DC said it was his last fight, so they're going to give the guy every chance to win or lose that fight. Two, it's at the end of the round. If that same sequence happens with 2 minutes left instead of 15 seconds, the fight gets called, 5-6 seconds into that sequence. And three, it's for the heavyweight championship. If that's just two random mid-carders, that fight gets called. So, yeah. I mean, you got to be a little bit better. I mean, DC, after that exchange, he gets up, wobbles back to the corner, sits down on the stool and is like, hey, what just happened? Did I get knocked down? At that, terrible. The third round was a wipe. I mean, that was the most clear round of the fight. Stipe went and just beat his ass for 5 minutes. Unfortunate turn of events there at the end of the fifth. You had the eye poke where Stipe went, I don't know, maybe 2 knuckles deep into the left eye of DC. Looked absolutely brutal. DC ended up tearing his cornea, couldn't see anything, which is makes it kind of surprising though. DC comes out, and in my opinion, the first time I watched the fight, I didn't think so. On the first watch, I thought Miocic won the fourth round. My second watch, I thought DC won the fourth round. I thought DC had more moments. I thought, I just in my gut feeling was DC won the fourth. So on my card it was 2-2 going into the fifth, and Stipe he just used the clinch. He grappled really well. DC just never had that one defining moment in the fifth to capture that belt. So on first watch, I had it 49-46 for Miocic. Second watch, 48-47. You could have made the third round a 10-8 round. I wouldn't have bitched about it. Yeah, it really, the not stopping that fight in the second leaves a poor taste in my mouth. We have to, if you're going to be about fighter safety, the referee has one job, right? And that's to protect the fighter. You can't be standing over the fighter while simultaneously looking up at the clock, just making sure dude doesn't die within those 4 seconds. So that way he can make it. You can't do it. If the guy's out and he's not clearly intelligently defending himself, if he's just holding on, hoping to get saved by the belt, it's a wrap. I mean, if that he was not getting out of that position. You know, it's the same thing as if you get mounted and crucifix and someone's just landing elbow after elbow after elbow. You're not getting out of it. Right. So we got to be better. We have to be better. DC he retired very graciously. Miocic, you know, that hit. I mean, heavyweight's kind of fun right now. Francis should be the next at 265. He should be the next person to get a crack at the belt. Those two fought back in 2017. Stipe won every minute of that fight. I think, you know, Francis, we haven't seen enough of him to see if he's a different fighter from back then. I mean, going into the first Stipe fight, he had just knocked out Overeem, and everyone thought, oh, he's going to win. He's going to knock Stipe out. It did not happen. I mean, Stipe ate some pretty good shots, but he ended up dominating those last rounds. You know, now Stipe, he's got 4 knockouts, 2 of them over world champions. He's got 4 knockouts in a total of about a half a round. Like, the guy doesn't get paid by the hour. Guy goes out there, he just needs one of these, and he puts you to sleep. So, Stipe, he's probably going to go for the double leg, probably going to try to take him down again. You know, if Francis can block it, maybe maybe get on top, sprawl a little bit, maybe put a little bit of weight on Stipe, he can, you know, tire him out. All he needs is one punch.
Yeah.
It reminds me, if we're thinking boxing, right? It's a lot like Deontay and Tyson Fury. Deontay, he's got that eraser, that right overhand. Francis, he's got that eraser. It's that left uppercut, that left hook. Stipe's just got more ways to win. Yet Francis is a damn near a 2.5 to 1 favorite over Stipe.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I think Francis, you know, I think it's going to be very similar to that first fight. I think Francis, if he can stuff that takedown, it's a different fight. But I don't think he can stuff it, or at least I haven't seen him be able to stuff it yet. What makes it really interesting, though, John Jones vacated the light heavyweight championship. He says he's going to make a heavyweight run. Does he automatically jump the line? Does he get the crack at Stipe? He shouldn't, but you're not dropping one belt without the promise of getting a chance at another in a different division. It just doesn't happen. You know, right. So I don't know. A lot of fun things you can do. You know, outside of those two, the fun contenders you have Derek Lewis, you have Overeem, you have Rosenstrike who beat Dos Santos over the weekend. I mean, there's just so many things you can do. Light heavyweight, they've already made the next title fight. Dominic Reyes, he's going to be fighting Jan Blachowicz. Blachowicz. Dominic, he kind of said something, and I kind of agree with him. He said John left the division because he doesn't want to fight me. Dominic won that first fight. In my opinion, he won that first fight 48-47. I think he's got a legitimate gripe that he should already be the light heavyweight champion of the world. He should have already put a legitimate loss on John Jones's record. You know, John Jones, he said something about, well, you know, if any light heavyweight can rack off 6 straight title defenses, I'll donate $100,000 to charity. There's a couple reasons for that. One, if Dominic goes and defends that belt 6 times, at minimum, that's 2.5 years. Okay, in 2.5 years, his skills have depleted, and you know, maybe he makes a run at heavyweight, and John can beat him. It doesn't matter. It's self-serving one way or another. Maybe it's just like, hey, I have $100,000. Like, you don't. Ha ha ha. Who knows? Who cares, right? The fight that people want to see is Jones versus Reyes too, and I think the only way you're going to see that happen is if Reyes moves up to heavyweight and chases John. It's just the only way I see it. I think I don't know. John, ever since they stopped letting him, do those, getting on the juice. You fail a couple tests. All of a sudden you can't fail those tests anymore. Your skills kind of go down. I mean, what can I say? But I don't know, man. It's pretty exciting. John, whoever he decides to fight, him versus Ngannou is a banger. So I don't know. A lot of fun things we can do there at heavyweight. So.
Oh yeah, I know there's a handful of good fights coming up in the next like 2 or 3 months. So we'll obviously lead into those once we get there.
You have Paulo Costa and Israel Adesanya.
Yep.
I think that's next month. You have Justin Gaethje and Khabib Nurmagomedov. That's another banger.
I think that one's in October, I think.
Yeah, that one's in October. Reyes and Blachowicz, that's September 26th. I don't think they have title fights scheduled for 125, 35, or 45 yet. And I also think 170 is in the air. So, a lot of fun fights coming up here. So,
yeah, so definitely we'll lead the guys into those once we get there. I mean, there's still plenty of time. That'll be about the same time NFL season kicks off too. So, I mean, here we go. Buckle up.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, I mean, that's all I've got this week. Do you have anything else?
No, that's all I got.
All right. Well, next week we're gonna have 2 episodes. So we'll do the normal show as we always do, cover everything, and then I'm gonna have a second episode with one of my buddies from high school. We're gonna do a soccer episode. Recap Champions League, talk about some Premier League stuff because Premier League season kicks off here in, I believe it's 3 weeks now, 3 or 4 weeks. So we're going to be talking transfers, expectations, predictions, stuff like that. Probably talk about some American soccer because the U.S. has obviously been getting some more recognition lately with a couple young superstars. So we'll see how that pans out. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on that. But yeah, 2 shows next week. Hopefully you guys can enjoy an extra hour of myself. But yeah, until then, I guess, peace out. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. And give us your predictions for the NBA and NHL playoffs. We're always open to some live discussion.
Yes, sir. We'll see you guys next week.
Yep. Peace out, guys.